Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you all
Thank you
for
all for
joining us
joining us
for
for
our
our
spring
spring
quarterly
quarterly
meeting.
meeting.
For those of you who do not know me, I am your friendly neighborhood quality improvement advisor. I am Sherri, and it's so nice to see your faces. For those of you who are online, if you do not mind for attendance, please put your name in the chat so we can record it. Sorry, it's hard hearing yourself talk. All right, so let's begin. So for those of you online, we are going to have a closed session in a sense. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. Feel free to text me as well if you have any issues. My number is 216-513-3141. All right, so I am so excited to introduce you to a new set of CME awards that is brought to you from UVA. Yay. So now with this great partnership that we have, we are offering still AMA credits, nursing credits, physician assistant credits, IPCE credits, and maintenance of certification. And this is all due to our great friend that just became our best friend, Mr. Justin DeLeo, I'm sorry. Let him say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. It is. Hold it back. I'm Justin DeLeo. Glad to be here with y'all tonight from the Office of Continuing Education at UVA. And I work with all of the UVA grand rounds, case conferences, and some other series courses like this. And like I said, I'm really excited to be here tonight to see you all learn. The echo is a little bit tough to, I'm hearing myself talk more than once. So thank you for inviting me tonight, and I'm looking forward to collaborating with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So please stay tuned. There will be more CME offerings through our new best friend. Thank you, Justin. Okay, so how do you get CME? So this is a new system, so you do have to register for the system. I will send this information out to you all via email as well. But here's the QR code if you want to take your phone and scan. You do have to register to set up an account. And then once you register, you use this link or the activity code to actually claim your credit. Am I missing anything, Justin? Did I do it okay?
All the steps, it works perfectly with QR code and has the basically URL behind it with that code at the end. You'll create an account. You want to put in your email address and a password to save that. You can log back, create an account, and if anyone has any problems, I'll do it.
And we're going to email this out to everyone too, right?
Yes. Yes. And Justin, for you, those of you who are online, Justin offered his services to us. So we do have his email address. Thank you, Justin. And please let us know how the experience go for you all. We changed vendors just to offer a greater and easier experience. So please give us your feedback. So what's in it for tonight? On the screen here is our agenda. So we're going to start with updates from the board from our own chair, Dr. Cotter. And then we're going to do a little bit of awards and recognition. This is going to be some fun. We're going to do a demo of our VCSQI and VHHA readmission calculator. And then we're going to dive into some data. And we're going to go back to Dr. Cotter with some efficiency metrics. And then we're going to kick it off, continuing where we left off at our last meeting, speaking about best practices, where we have Dana Millner here, who's going to show us or tell us about how they overcame barriers with a prolonged vent. All right, so Dr. Cotter. Would you like to come up, sir? Or would you like the mic?
Have the slides for the.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in person here. I'm so excited to see you all. There are a few updates from the last board meeting. One of them is I just like to recognize Dr. Nick Tiemann. He's out there. He's elected as the next chair for the VCSQI board. Nick is already taking a leadership role with us. He's the chair of the research writing committee for the last few years. And in his leadership, we have grown quite a bit and have done wonderful job of publications in very high impact peer review journals. So welcome on board in the leadership role, Nick. The second item is the financial strength of our institution. And I have to say that we have done a really good job of using the funds carefully. We have at least a year worth of funds that are kept aside for as in a money market kind of savings. And rest of them have been placed in some investments for good returns. So overall, the financial health of our organization is very strong. I also like to take this opportunity to request our colleagues who are leaders in the Heart Cath and PCI programs, because we need more involvement and more enrollment of those programs into this angiogram review process. Many of the programs who have participated in this angiogram review process have positive things to say about their experiences. And there are some who did have some concerns and objections, and we have addressed them to the best of our abilities. But we do need more participation for this program. So I just request all the leadership at the Heart PCI programs to please reach out to Eddie and Sherri, and they will help you guys enroll into the process. Lastly, I will let Eddie and Sherri come up with some, I think there's a program and process as to how they have selected a person who has done the most contributions to the VCSQI organization. And the board has allocated a certain amount of the money, if I think like $1,000, something to that effect, to give that money towards their educational or learning goals of that nature. So with that, I will give it task to Eddie.
I'm gonna make a call and save a life here too. Just a quick question before we move forward. Is the audio feedback distracting or? Okay. We'll still use these for the Zoom attendees. Is that possible? Like maybe just mute the system.
Okay, try to say something.
Testing. No.
It's over on that.
Mute it for Zoom though. We just need to mute the speakers.
I remember now.
This one. There we go. Okay. Is this any better? We still need to use these microphones so the Zoom attendees can hear us, but can you guys hear us okay if we project? Is that all right? Okay, cool. The audio was a little spotty there, so thanks very much for bearing with us as we work through our technical setup. But basically what Sherri and I want to do here, no, it's okay. I think we need this for the Zoom, right? As long as folks can hear us, just let us know if we need to project into our thespian voices here. So what Sherri and I want to start the program off with tonight is really shining a spotlight on our membership here and just showing off all the great work that our VCSQI contributors have done for us in the last year in the name of improving patient care and helping, you know, their programs as well as their colleagues around the Commonwealth. So we have a number of folks we want to recognize. I think there's still a few folks en route as well, but we're going to let Sherri lead the kind of award ceremony here. And then hopefully if folks are in attendance, we can give out a few gifts. If they're not here and you're from their site, we might ask you to bring the gift or a little token back with you and hand it off later. And yeah, hopefully we can have some fun here and just again shine a light on the great work that our VCSQI membership is doing here. So Sherri, would you like to get us started with the awards?
No, wait, Eddie, thank you.
It's like our version of the Emmys here.
It sure is. So let's start off small. Look, this is still big. So 2 times we mentioned that we would give out VCSQI swag in the form of a hoodie to those who responded to surveys. So the first survey was our quarterly feedback meeting from last quarter. We received 4 responses. Oh, can you hear me okay? Okay, we received 4 responses. And so let's do a drawing if we could to see who is the lucky winner of a VCSQI hoodie. Woo! It's no excitement. You got to get excited for this. Woo! Those of you who are watching via Zoom, you should be here to see all the dancing. All right, so we have, sorry, it switched out. So I'm going to just take these names who responded, and we are going to put them in this online raffle tickler, if you will. And it's going to do a spinning or drawing for us. Unfortunately, we only have an extra large and large hoodies, so I hope it fits.
You could give it to one of your adult sons,
Yes.
if not, yeah.
All right, so are you ready for this drawing? All right, I can't hear you. All right, and the lucky winner is Barbie.
Barbie.
All right. And Barbie is not here.
I
Is
think-
anyone here who can?
I think
make it?
Mike should be here later.
He's not able to make it.
Oh, Mike's not coming?
He'll be
Okay.
online.
Okay.
Is anyone from Mary Washington here? If not, we'll get him. All right.
We can swing back on the way back home.
Yes. Okay, so our second drawing. Let's see if this is upright or do I need to copy the names? Okay, that is working well. But our second drawing was based upon services that we provide. We wanted to know which services, what was their value in ranking? You know, I think there was about maybe 10 different services that we provide. We wanted you to rank them from the one that was least of value to the one that was the most valuable. So based off of that survey, we have 15 responses. So let's see who the lucky winner of that VCSQI fabulous hoodie that's worth $1 million is. Are you ready? Ooh. Sue Ann Carnell, are you here? No, she's not here. Woo! Anyone from Riverside here?
I see Sue is on Zoom.
You want to unmute to talk about your $1 million sweatshirt you just got? She may be shy.
I'm not sure if the audio will come through now that we muted our
yeah.
speakers, actually.
That is true. That is true. Okay.
But if you type in the chat, Barbie did respond. Barbie's on Zoom and she did say thanks.
All right, this is awesome. So this is just so much fun. You know, I love this. All right, so let's go on to some additional prizes. All right, so first we wanted to also recognize our past chairs. Dr. Spear and Dr. Shore have led VCSQI for a number of years and have done a phenomenal job and passed the torch over to Dr. Cotter and Dr. Tiemann. So we just wanted to take a moment to recognize them. We had planned gifts for about a year now. We did give Dr. Shore his gift. We just need to give Dr. Spear his gift, and I think he's online. But the gift is a clock shaped in the shape of Virginia, and it has his name on it, just to show appreciation for all that he's done and his leadership. So just, please take a moment and send them some emails to thank them for all that they do. Okay.
Say to Dr. Spear and Dr. Shore, who I think collectively were chairs of VCSQI for the last at least 15 to 20 years. I mean, we would not be here without them, without the foundations that they've laid, first in cardiac surgery and then in the world of interventional cardiology with Dr. Shore, really leading our efforts to expand in the world of cardiology. So just one more time, we'd really like to just give them our greatest thanks and show our recognition and appreciation.
All right, so are you ready for one of the biggest awards that we've done in VCSQI history? It is called the Collaborator of the Year Award. And we received a lot of nominations. So thank you so much for nominating your peers for being the Collaborator of the Year. So we developed this award just to recognize the work that you all are putting into VCSQI that makes us who we are. We're a collaborative and we couldn't do it without you. So if you don't mind, let me list out our nominees. Yes, I need that. Yes. So first we have Dr. Lancey, who was nominated from a couple of people, Shelly Callahan and Tiasha Campbell. Dr. Lancey is recognized for his leadership, sharing his phenomenal knowledge. He loves data, if you don't know that. His contribution to the readmission work group and his involvement with other work groups and his presentations and just everything that he does. And I do not think Dr. Lancey is on the line, but let's take a moment to give him a round of applause and thank him for all he's done.
We do have Dr. Zukov from Centera Rockingham, who maybe can accept or say a few words in his stead. Sherri, would you like to share what we have for our nominees?
Boy, I didn't have anything prepared. I'll tell you.
So as a token of our appreciation, we have a custom tumbler for you. All of our nominees that has VCSQI logo on it, and it has their name. Just a small token. It is reusable. It keeps your coffee hot for a very long time and your cold drinks cold for a very long time. So that is just something to think about us during your workday. It doesn't get any better than this, I tell you. Thank you, Eddie, Vanna. All right. So up next, we have Nancy Farber. Woo! Nancy, are you here? Is Nancy here today? I didn't see her. Oh, she's online. Hey, Nancy. Yes. So you have been nominated, Nancy, because you have been an integral part in the cardiology team at UVA. You've done a lot. And actually, I did not change the name. Actually, no, you were nominated from Shelly and Tiasha as well. But you do a phenomenal work. You always share your feedback, your input, and just helps to pave the way. And actually, remembering what I did wrong. This is what happens when you get old. You were not nominated by Tiasha and Shelly. You were nominated by Blythe. So thank you, Blythe, for nominating Nancy. And Nancy, thank you so much for all that you do. Let's give her a round of applause.
Enough. Lila, your
Now
language great.
Dr. Lancey joins the Zoom call now. All right, up next, we have Judy Smith from UVA. Judy, please stand. You have to stand. All right, so Judy, yes. Judy was nominated by Dr. Teeman, Suang Carnell, April Howell, Ariana Provenza, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Jay Harris, and Karen from UVA. But do you see how many different organizations nominated you? That was just something I wanted to point out as well. And that just expresses how much of an impact that you have done and been to VCSQI. And just to quote Dr. Teeman, Judy is a walking encyclopedia of the STS data. So thank you. And Nancy, we do have a cup for you too, Wilson. Okay, and now we have Janae Harsberger, and I think she's online. Janae may be online. Janae is from Inova. You have been nominated, dear, from Rosalba. And I think this is no secret from everyone who participates in the, is it CAP PCI Data Managers Call? Rosalba was very outspoken as it relates to how much help Janae has provided to her when she first started working with VCSQI and just integrating best practices in her organization. So this is a shout out to you, Janae. Thank you for all that you do. And we have a cup for you as well. So let's give her a round of applause. Okay, up next we have Mike Brown. Woo-hoo! I'm not totally sure if Mike Brown is on the line or not, but we all know Mike Brown. Mike Brown is a wonderful person who has been an integral part in the AKI readmission, so many work groups, AKI reduction or mitigation protocol guidelines. He's been just so ecstatic. Words cannot, it escapes me, as you can see, of how phenomenal Mike is. But Mike was nominated by Jessica Mountjoy, who is one of his colleagues, and his recognition and all his work is recognized from all of us here at VCSQI. Mike, we have a cup for you as well, and let's just give him a round of applause as well. All right. And so we also have Dr. Peter O'Brien, who I know is online. Dr. O'Brien, you were nominated by Dr. Bernstein. Praising you for your leadership work, your work that you do with VHHA, the things that you do as it relates to our work groups, and just being an excellent leader and guiding us to pave the way for the outcomes of creating positive outcomes for our patients.
Got your girl.
So
Did she have her diaper still
have
on?
a cup for you, and I should have had it made with VHHA on it as well.
Yes.
But next time.
When she goes out, take
Let's
it
give
off.
Dr. O'Brien a round of applause.
You know, it's just really for the protection of your house, your car, you know, whatever. But you know, she's dripping a little
Last
bit.
but not least, we did also ask for nominations. If you didn't have a person, but you had a center that you wanted to recognize, we asked for those nominations as well. So there was a nomination from also Dr. Provenza for UVA, just their work that they've done on the AFib protocol and AKI and disparities and structural heart, just a lot of things that they're doing within their realm and that they share with VCSQI. So we do have a cup for UVA if anyone wants to accept it on their behalf. Let's give UVA a round of applause. And we have everyone a cup. Okay, this is just me being me. I apologize for the echo temporarily, but let's announce who the winner is. I have a little bit of theatrics that I want to go. Just have to do it. It wouldn't be me if I didn't do it. Okay, so the winner of the Collaborator of the Year award goes to. So Judy, my dear, you are amazing. Everyone thinks you're amazing. So on behalf of everyone in VCSQI, Eddie and myself, the entire board, we want to present you. This is amazing. Oh, wow.
Judy, would you like to?
You know, I'm not going to miss a
Put you
chance
on
to
the spot.
talk.
Put you on the
You know, I don't miss a chance to talk, right? I don't even know if this is on or not. Is this
It's on,
on?
it's on for Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. I certainly don't feel like I deserve this. And because I have a chance to talk, I would say for all the surgeons here and what a privilege it is to be the chair of the VCSQI quality group and to see the passion and the commitment of your data abstractors to be sure your data is correct and figuring out this crazy frailty thing and this beta blocker thing. You have no idea. And you carry those things with you, right? You're thinking like how, and what an amazing team that you have. And I consider that a privilege to be a part of that group. I don't know what this is about, and I'm really appreciative for it, but I have a chance to talk. And I just want to say, highlight to the surgeons in this room and to the administrators in the room, what an incredible group of people that you have that take care of your STS data and help improve, because everything we do right is to improve patient care. We do yeses and nos and get the data right, because at the end of the day, it's about those people back at our hospitals that are depending on us to do the right thing to care for them. And your group of people have such a commitment for that. And I'm very appreciative of this, and I'm appreciative of a chance to say that.
Thank you so much, Judy, and really for everything you've done for VCSQI over the years and decades, really. Not to date you here, but I mean, you've been with VCSQI for as long as I can remember, really. And yeah, I mean, back in the, mid 2000s, I mean, it's been 20 plus years, at least. And, for everything you've done for the group, really to all of our database managers with whom, our world of quality improvement would not exist. So Judy, along with a nice little plaque, there's also a cash award that we've decided as from the board to give to you. So yeah, it's meant actually to serve as a quality scholarship sort of piece, but so yeah, drinks on Judy tonight. So for our 2024 collaborators of the year, this is kind of a meant to entice folks to participate in VCSQI, and again, just recognize the fantastic work you all are doing. So thank you all for all of your contributions here to the group.
And Judy, pardon me, I'm sorry, Beth Hart from Mary Washington also nominated you, and I forgot to include her as well. Yeah, so you got so many hearts on the chat. If you can see it, you would cry. All right, so after we're done with all that fun, let's get down to some serious business. So let's talk about the VHHA and VCSQI collaborative CABG readmission calculator. So if you did not receive the link to this calculator, please let me know. I'll be happy to share it. A lot of work went into this from everyone in the readmission work group. Also, Dr. Lancey did a lot of the research, a lot of the calculations with Eddie. I don't know how they do it, all that data. And also with Andre from VHHA to create this wonderful calculator to try to estimate as best as likely the patient's likelihood to be readmitted. So I wanted to walk you through the calculator. Again, I will share this out to everyone. It is on our VCSQI website, but this is our handy dandy calculator. So just enter the basic information of the patient, choose the gender, and all this is based on the information or the research that we found that are high risk factors for readmission. So to choose the gender, the age, of course, is a risk factor. If they have COPD, indicate yes or no. Of course, that's a risk factor. If their pre-procedure creatinine is greater than 1.3, that has been identified as a risk factor, indicate yes or no. Did they have post-op renal failure? That has been indicated as a risk factor. And what has been their post-op length of stay? So those 6 numbers or 6 questions kind of give us a behind the scene calculation of what to expect for that patient. But as you continue to go, we want you to identify your program within this. We have, thanks to Eddie, the wizard, he didn't bring his hat today. We have historical pre-admission rates for each hospital and gave you all a ranking. So pick your code. If you do not know your code, please let me know and I'll be happy to send it to you. But once you select it, the readmission rate enters into that box and it will give you what your historical rate is. And now the zip code. The zip code is information that we got from the disparities, economic disparities index. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The Stress Communities Index. So we brought the data set and uploaded it into this wonderful calculator to target or indicate what the risk factor is or the distress index for that zip code based on your entry. So let's just put in one that I can always remember. You will hit the button to get that number, and in this wonderful box, it'll give you what that ranking is, and it's from 0 to 4. 0 is prosperous. If it's 4, it's distressed. So based on that, we're going to go down a little bit more. If you want the email, if you want these results emailed to you, then put your email address in the box. You do not have to, but if you hit submit, it will tell you what the likelihood of that patient being readmitted. Oh, and Judy, it does go fast. Okay, so I have to figure that out. But for that one, it was only 1. It was a score of a 1. So I will figure out why it doesn't stay up that long. But put your email address in. Skip me, but that's it. Put your
And
email
Sherri,
address in.
if you scroll down just a second, you will. Oh, I thought there was a box there that shows the scale from 0 to 10. So the 0 is like a 2 or 3% chance of readmission, and if you get up to a 10, it's more like a 20 to 25% chance of readmission. We validated this across 40-some thousand VCSQI records and had a pretty good predictive effect of all these variables. It's STS along with hospital, as well as the distress communities and patient, socioeconomic profile, at least based on the zip code. So we feel like it's a pretty broad look at attempting to identify the highest risk readmission patients. And, we're in the process of QAing it. So we wanted to get people to test it out. Judy's been really kind to look at this with us. And we feel like it's just about ready for prime time. There's just a couple little bugs we're working on, but we'd love to get folks' opinions in terms of how it translates to hopefully identifying and then preventing those high risk readmissions.
And actually,
Yeah, that's it. Just the 8 or so questions here. It's real simple.
and we do have more information. So we prepared information packet for you as well. Introduction of the tool, explaining what each question means and how it contributes to the readmission rate. So that handout is available for you as well. And Eddie, if you don't mind, let's pick on our collaborator of the year, if you wouldn't mind. Let's find out, because she's been testing us. Let's know a little bit more about what you think. What are your plans to do with this readmission calculator?
We are putting it in our discharge summary. I think we've been on the journey for a little while. Eddie has sent me some of our data just to be sure, because it's kind of like, so what are you going to do with it? Because everybody's getting a call, but like, do these people need to come in earlier and at what point? So we are using it. We're trying to get it. We are struggling to get that screenshot because it does go away so quickly. And I think we'll fix that. But I don't know. I mean, I think the question is, what do you do when you're super high risk? And we haven't gotten that far yet. But we're trying.
Thanks, Judy. So that one was a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it does go away. So I'll work on that.
And
Yes.
we've been testing some different versions here. Sometimes the number stays, sometimes it goes away. So we need to we'll fix that one before we send the link out to everybody, but we hope we can get some feedback and that it's a useful tool. Just let us know, good or bad, just feedback would be most appreciated.
All right, so that takes us back to our wonderful presentation.
Can you hear me?
So what we did is we trained this. Yeah, sorry. The question from Dr. Provenza was, have we validated the model? We trained this on about 40,000 VCSQI patients, and then we used another 15,000 or so to validate the model. And in both models, the R squared was between, I think, 0.78 and 0.82. So reasonably good predictive power. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone online has a question? Feel free to put it in the chat and I can read it off for you.
Can you hear me?
Lancy might be trying to speak up. Unfortunately, Dr.
Yes,
Lancy, we're not able to hear you right now.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
if you can type any questions you have in chat.
Did I take that off speaker? Would it echo off? I think you just can't talk.
You can try talking, Dr. Lancy.
Are you able to hear me at all?
Yes, we can.
You can hear me?
We can hear you. Sorry.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I just wanted to mention two quick things. One is that the question of validation is a good one. And if I were looking at this from the outside, I'd say, well, how'd you come up with these three domains? As everyone knows, readmissions thought to be related to quality of care. So we included a lot of the patient clinical factors in there because they do, and across numerous studies that have been done and the research that we did, we pulled out the most common factors across studies that actually did show in other scoring systems an association with readmissions. That was the clinical domain. The second domain, obviously, is what really makes this a special thing, and that is the zip code, social determinants of health. We're really looking at what I think both people who know readmissions are all about. We're looking at the non-clinical factors, the demographics, and a lot of what the socioeconomic status of the people, because we know that that does lead to readmissions, higher readmissions. In fact, Medicare has admitted that in their new calculations. And the third thing was sort of idea that I had and I've seen is that some hospitals, the culture just seems to be more prone to readmissions, and some hospitals just seem to have a lower threshold for readmission, whether it's the ED, lack of primary care providers or whatever. Eddie did a phenomenal work in trying to validate this. It really did show that using all these three factors, it did lead to a pretty good predictive ability of the scoring system. And the second thing is that what's the utility of it? I think Judy pointed out some of that. What are you going to do with a high score? And we have sort of a menu of items that we will also be sending along, some of which we sort of classify as, level A that everyone should be doing. That means, early follow-ups, et cetera. Then there's class B, which are some more labor intensive, although not exhaustive things to do. In fact, I wanted to say something because I went online today and ordered 100 wristbands with our name and department on them that we're going to start distributing to patients as one of the proven efforts that's helped to lower readmission rates. And then the third classification, those are the people that are at highest risk. They need more intensive follow-up, perhaps with video monitoring if they're at a rehab center, frequent calls. All of that we can distribute, but there are just sort of three levels that you'd approach these patients at, because we don't want a lot of labor-intensive stuff going at someone with a score of 1 or 2, while at the same time we don't want someone who's scoring off the charts to be simply told come back in a week or so. So that's sort of the theory behind it all.
It was just for cabbage. Yeah.
Dr. Lancy, are you planning to think and do this for APRs as well? For all the index cases?
Dr. Lancy, did you hear the question?
I did not know. If you could repeat it, it'd be great.
I was thinking that actually, this is great. My question is, if you have already done all the work for the cabbages, potentially we can extrapolate the knowledge that we get from the cabbages with the risk calculator and use it, you know, for the valves as well.
Yeah, you bet. And the reason for that, especially, is that there's nothing special about cabbage patients versus valves or cabbage valves in terms of zip code, in terms of hospital readmission rate overall, and really in terms of what's being, you know, what the risk factors are. You notice that there's not like, you know, cardiopulmonary bypass time and things like that that would sort of cull out cabbage versus valve or valve cabbage. We tried to be pure with it, Eddie, again, you know, validated against cabbage patients, but I think it would be certainly applicable to all patients having open heart surgery. That's a very good point.
I think we have a question too from Shirley.
Shirley, do you want to go off mute? I did not see the question.
More to come on the, not just readmission, but also the work we're doing with our DEI committee on social determinants of health and kind of how all of this fits together in terms of getting to know our patients better and hopefully providing, you know, better care, more personalized care based on the data and what we can develop as a community here. So thanks for staying tuned on this one. We're working on this.
And one thing to point out, within the packet, the readmission work group had shared best practices of things that should be in place and things that will help maximize or reduce the readmission rate for the patient, but it may be more resource heavy as it relates to what programs they may be capable of doing or not. But on maybe, I think this is page 7 and on, based on the ranking or results, it'll give you some strategies that you can implement based on their risk for readmission. So anything that you see with this graph that points up and is red, those are things that is a high yield return on investment, as we coined it. One of the things that could potentially be or was, if I'm not mistaken, is the EMR banner. That was a great tool to communicate with your emergency department. Flagging, so here it is, yes. So flagging your EMR, if a patient enters the emergency room, just to say that you should call the cardiology team versus them being admitted. But it's just a banner you would have to work with your Epic team. We do have some screenshots of what those look like. Please let me know if you would like that. I can definitely send it to you and I will post it on our site. But take a look at these strategies. They are very useful. And let's see over time, please let us know if you're using this calculator, if you're using any of these strategies, because we want to see how you're performing over time. All right, any additional questions? Okay, so off to our data genius, Eddie Fonner. Eddie, thank you for all you do. I'm gonna bring you a cup next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherri. So we're going to have a quick run through of our cost and quality data here. So please stop me if you guys have any questions, comments. Our database keeps growing here. So at this point, we have 4 clinical registries that are part of our VCSQI world. Our adult cardiac patients, which was the first one, we then added on ACC's CAF PCI population. Both of those at this point are being linked with the VHHA financial data, which comes from the statewide all-payer claims database of inpatient records across the Commonwealth. Our 2 newest databases are our VHAC STEMI database, which is a combination of the AHAs, get with the guidelines CAD, a subset of those fields, along with the ACC's chest pain MI. We've kind of re-blended those back into what the action registry used to be a number of years back. And then the fourth and newest database is our STS ACC TVT. So our TAVR, our transcatheter mitrals are being captured in that data set. So as you can see here, there's hundreds of thousands of patient records available. We are just providing kind of a high level overview of these 4 data sources right now, but any individual questions you have in terms of, you know, how your hospital stacks up against others, any research you want to do, we have an extensive publishing committee, again, led by Dr. Tiemann. Please feel free to reach out with your questions and ideas for how we can best utilize this data, because it takes really an entire community to mine this massive data set and data sets. We'll start with the newest database, which is our TVT. Right now, we're looking at just the TAVR cases, which make up about 95% of this population within TVT. So we have about 2.5, almost 3 full years of TAVR data at this point. This is looking nearly 4,000 TAVR records across our 7 participating centers. Right now, we're just looking at some basic outcomes. So here we have, I think the title is a little bit hidden by our Zoom prompt, but this is major or minor vascular complication by hospital. You'll see your de-identified VCSQI center code at the bottom, and your rate for vascular complications is shown across the bars. So this is a pretty straightforward graph here, just shows some of the variation between centers. This is not risk adjusted. It's just meant to show, you know, high and low performers among vascular complications within TAVR population. And the national benchmark is a little bit lower than VCSQI here, 5.3 versus 4.5. Our next TAVR metric, just jump in with any comments you guys have, is new permanent pacemaker placed. So here again, there's a good amount of variation between 3.5% to almost 9% by center, and VCSQI average a couple of percentage points higher than the TVT's national 50th percentile. And our last TAVR metric, we have a whole number of other ones in the quarterly reports. This is just meant to kind of be a teaser. This shows our average length of stay broken down by pre and post procedure. So you can see actually there's some interesting variation in the pre-procedure length of stay, where some sites are taking them pretty much the same day for all their cases. Others are waiting a little bit longer. And regardless, the VCSQI average is still right around where the national benchmark is, but still some differing practices, maybe due to patient acuity or other reasons. Judy just asked, for those on Zoom who couldn't hear, Judy just asked if we have cost data for TVT. Not yet. That is our next frontier here that we're urging our ARMIS colleagues to complete. So that should be coming sometime this year, I'll say. The next data set is our VHAC STEMI. So our heart attack patients coming in emergently primarily. Again, the data aggregation model is blending our ACC and subset of AHA data from our participating centers. We've grown to, I believe there are nearly 20 centers participating, and several more who have signed up to upload their data. We're just kind of getting the data agreements finalized with them. So when all those centers are online, we'll have more than half of the interventional cath labs across Virginia signed up for the database. So we're looking to make this an entire statewide effort, and we've gotten there slowly but surely over the last few years. This shows the, This shows the rate of our 4 primary VHAC metrics by STEMI region. So for those of you who haven't joined us in our VHAC calls, the Virginia Heart Attack Coalition, our state has been broken out into 6 different regions. Central, where we are today, is primarily the Richmond area. East is out in Norfolk, Hampton Roads area. Northern Virginia, that's anywhere, you know, of course, in the DC suburbs primarily, all the way from down to Fredericksburg. Northwest is actually one of the biggest areas, which spans from Charlottesville out to Harrisonburg, all the way up to Winchester. It's a pretty big triangle there. Our south is in the Lynchburg, kind of Danville area, in that sweet spot south of central of the state. And then west is anywhere from Roanoke all the way out to the western borders. So our 4 main measures here are door in, door out time for transfer patients. That's how long a patient spends at a transfer facility before going to one of the receiving centers in this region. Then there is median transfer time, so how long that transfer takes. The other 2 are for non-transfers, which are looking at different ways of enumerating first medical contact to balloon time, or first medical contact to primary PCI for our emergent STEMIs. The first shows the proportion within 90 minutes, and the second shows the mean FMC to device, or sorry, median FMC to device time. So these are color-coded based on higher rates are orange, lower rates are in green. We know the geographies are very disparate, so it's not exactly apples to apples when comparing, say, our northern area, which is very urban, all the way out west, which is very rural. But it's just meant to show kind of a high-level view of where we are with our performance rates, again, across these 20 participating VHAC, VCSQI hospitals. Sherri, is Dr. O'Brien on? Would he like to say anything?
Hey, Eddie, can you hear me?
I just have to
Hey, can you hear me?
find unmute. Let's see. There we go.
Hey, guys, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. No, I don't have a whole lot to add. That was a good presentation. This is very exciting. We are steadily recruiting hospitals. There are roughly 45 PCI centers in the state of Virginia. And, you know, we're getting there. We're closing on the halfway point. I'm also very excited that the central region, the 6th and final VHAC region, has come online. That's the Richmond area. And this data is, it looks surprisingly good. I will say, I think it's taken us a number of years to get the performance to this point across the state, but I'm excited by some of these metrics. Certainly there are areas to improve, but I think this is a good trend, and you know, the more hospitals we have, the more complete picture we have. I think after this meeting in the coming weeks, I'm going to discuss with the team whether we start, you know, whether we retire 1 or 2 metrics and bring other metrics online. But that's stay tuned, more discussion on that. But a lot of gratitude for Sherri and Eddie's work. This is pretty painstaking, reaching out, recruiting, you know, getting those agreements signed and getting that data through ARMIS and into a usable form. But I'll tell you, it's really the backbone of our STEMI initiative across the state. So we really could not be doing any of this without all of this good work going on. So good stuff, and thank you again.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. O'Brien, who should have introduced him, is one of the co-founding members of VHAC alongside a current VCSQI board member as well. And also in his spare time and practicing interventional cardiologist, of course, at Central Lynchburg. So thank you again, Dr. O'Brien, for all your efforts on leading our VHAC charge forward. And we wanted to just give a quick overview of some of the other work VHAC is doing. It's not just the database, but there are also 6 work groups that have started out, sorry, 5 work groups that have started out here in the world of VHAC. If you're interested here, we'd love to have you on board, either as part of our steering committee, which meets monthly, or as part of one of these work groups, which have breakout sessions, kind of bi-monthly or as needed. Those 5 work groups are thrombolytics, cardiogenic shock, ED bypass and false activations, PE response teams, PERT, and EKG and EMS education. So those are coming online. I think at least 4 of the 5 have met thus far. And we're looking to move the needle in all of those areas this year with our great members and teammates at VHHA. Bessie. Our third database here is our ACC cath PCI population. So these are both elective and non-elective caths. Basically, any cath PCI patient that is at our 20 plus VCSQI cardiology centers is part of this database. This first chart, I realize is a little busy maybe for folks at the back of the room, but this is showing by center. We've gotten so many centers that it's gotten almost prohibitive to show them all on the same screen here. But this first chart shows a proportion of patients who have radial access for their PCI, which has grown steadily over the years. We're at nearly 70% across the last 4 quarters worth of data. The blue bars for each hospital show the last 4 quarters compared against the prior 4 quarters of data. So you can do some quick trending analysis and see, are you moving, up or down based on your historical data, and then how you compare against your peers in each volume group, low, medium, high, as far as your PCI patient population. There are also some statistical calculations we've done on the bottom here, where if there's an asterisk, it means your program is performing significantly lower than the combination of the VCSQI member hospitals. And if there's a plus sign, it means the opposite. So you, in this case, would be performing radial access more often than the other VCSQI centers. So again, we'll send these out to folks who are squinting and having trouble looking at the slides here, but these are meant as a high-level view at our PCI performance here over time. This next one is a similar look for bleeding observed to expected. So this is a risk-adjusted metric that shares the observed rate of bleeding divided by what the ACC algorithm predicts your bleeding rate to be. So a 1.0 would mean your patient population's bleeding rate is right in line with that of the ACC and CDR's prediction, which we get through our ARMIS data warehouse. So you see that 1.0 line is kind of right where ACC is. The VCSQI is a little bit lower, so it means at our VCSQI centers, we see about 18 to 20% less bleeding events than you would expect based on our patient acuity. And of course, the different bars here show variation within the different hospitals of our volume groups. Our last one is a teaser on our cost data. It's a concept that we've spoken on a little bit before called additive costs. This is a calculation that's pretty simple. It takes the cost of a case with no complications. So baseline, no complications, simple PCI. They're discharged typically, 2 to 3 days, and they're out of the hospital in this case, on average with about $19,000 of cost to the hospital based on our costing methodology in VCSQI. Now take some of the complications, the 4 complications shown on the right side. This means that when you have a case of postoperative heart failure, it adds on average $21,000 in hospital costs to the program for any case of heart failure. It goes all the way up to bleeding and shock, which are tied at around $36,000, or almost tripling the cost of a PCI when one of those events occurs post-procedure. So this is meant to share the impact, I guess, of postoperative events and complications, as well as the potential for not just quality improvement, but cost savings to our member institutions. And last but not least, we have a few graphs from our adult cardiac world. This first is a longitudinal view of our cardiac surgery volumes over the last 12 years, 2012 through 2023 calendar year. We see definitely a dip in 2020, of course, with the onset of COVID. Every, of the 4 major volume categories decreased at that point. Things have been on a steady rise since then. You'll see the cabbage cases have rebounded to their highest level in the last 12 years, in the last year. The only thing that has really declined and hasn't gotten that far back up is the valve only cases, which have probably been taken over by some of the transcatheter world. But overall, our cardiac surgery volume in Virginia was as high last year as it has been pretty much any time in the last 12 years. Sure thing. Dr. Provenza just asked what the other category is. Admittedly, it's a very broad catch-all this is based on the STS procedure type calculation or categorization. So anything that is not an isolated valve, not an isolated valve plus cabbage. This includes a lot of the AFib procedures, a lot of the, anything as serious as a transplant. There's a whole list of about 30 to 40 procedures, and I'd rely on someone like Judy, not to call on you again, but to share. Judy, it's going to be a busy night for you, but there's basically a catch-all category for anything that's not an isolated case. We have a couple hospital-specific charts here. This shows our intra or post-op blood use by hospital. This is similar to the PCI format of charts where we have for our 17 cardiac surgery centers, the 4 quarters, current 4 quarters year versus the prior 4 quarters by volume group. So you see here where, our VCSQI average in the green is about 33% for any transfusion. The STS national average in 2022 was over 40%. So in general, VCSQI transfuses a lot less. However, you will see variation between our centers here on the chart. These next couple of slides are a sample in our world of cardiac surgery that were developed by our VCSQI perfusion group and Eve Dallas, who is over on the left-hand side of the room here. Eve has helped to define a number of measures that are especially relevant to our perfusion community, but really, can be shared with any cardiac surgery team across our member sites. This is just a quick slice sharing how our AKI rates, acute kidney injury rates, are related against preoperative anemia versus stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 kidney injury. So in general, we looked at AKI for pre-op anemia as being generally about 2 to 3 times as high versus patients who did not have anemia pre-operatively. And those were all statistically significant differences. We then delved in a little bit more deeply and tried to associate the pre-op and intraoperative hematocrits with the rates of intraoperative blood and red blood cells being transfused at each center. And just as an example of how you can really slice and dice this data on a detailed level. Eve, anything to add on our perfusion group or these sets of reports?
Well, thank you for that exposure, Eddie. Just for Zoom, yeah. It's been really exciting to work with Eddie to come up with some of these slides. There is an entire slate of them. If anybody's interested in diving in a little bit deeper, just let us know, or your perfusionist may have them in an email at your center. But if not, we'll certainly see about getting you these slides. This is my favorite. I'm happy that Eddie pulled this one out because there's a lot of information in there and a lot of things that make me go, huh? But in addition to that, I also wonder too if slides like this will bring us to the point where maybe some of the high performers in this group would be willing to come in front of the group and discuss what they think may be causing their results to be so outstanding. So, yeah. So the opportunity there to learn from the high achievers and also to kind of see where we land amongst each other. And again, if you want to see the whole slate, just let us know. Thank you, Eddie.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eve. Our final snapshot for cardiac surgery is again a look at the additive costs, in this case by postoperative complications. So we see our baseline cost of isolated CABG here is about $37,000, so about twice that of a PCI. Then when we layer on any of the postoperative complications, they range anywhere from an additional $26,000 with AFib to about $93,000 for a case of renal failure or stage 3 AKI, as STS defines renal failure. So again, just showing the financial and value impact that complications are having across the database is pretty phenomenal. And really that is our overview. Eve, go ahead, please.
Just one really quick, Eddie, that renal failure on the last, that includes stage 1, 2, and 3.
Sorry, this renal failure is the STS major morbidity. So this is just stage 3 or new requirement for dialysis.
Thank you.
So this is, tripling of serum creatinine of greater than 4 with at least a 0.5 milligram per deciliter rise or new dialysis. So yeah, pretty serious cases. When we looked at it for just stage 1 AKI, there still was an elevated cost though of those procedures. And so our quarterly reports, the set of reports we release regularly is available at this link. You can scan the QR code, vcsqi.org/portal. And we just can't wait to work on you for any sets of new reports, research. If you have data questions, please send them to us because we love working on these with you guys. So thanks for all you do and for the chance to mine this data and learn a lot and help improve patient care as a result thereof. So appreciate you all. And at this point, we will reintroduce our board chair, Dr. Cotter. Dr. Cotter is going to auspiciously help us look into the future of VCSQI and some different things we can do with the data that we just showed a different section of. So Dr. Cotter, we'll give it over to you for this section of the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eddie. Just like enter is the forwarding. Okay. All right, folks, second round for me here. This time, I'd just like to share something that I think about a lot, but I thought this is a great venue to bring this proposition. As you have seen, tremendous amount of the work is going on in this organization. And I'd like to thank everybody who's involved in it and also the leadership of Dr. Lancy and Dr. O'Brien to make some of those projects come to fruition, because a few years ago, I only heard of them. But now we have the data, now we have the slides to talk about them. So it's quite a bit of work that has gone into it, and I just want to thank them. So one of the things that I have in my mind is to, what else can we do at VCSQI? We're already doing a lot of things, but what else can we do moving forward in the future? And so just to reiterate as to what we do here, I mean, just for my own sake, I like to say it loud that our objective as a family of VCSQI has been to exchange ideas and best practices from each other to provide the best care to our patients in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That has been our objective, and we have selected certain metrics to say that how we're going to measure each other, how are we going to identify who is doing the best. And as Eddie has shared here, we has looked into how to reduce the use of blood products during the transfusion, Also, like what to do, like you will hear a wonderful talk from Dana about decreasing the time on the ventilation after surgery and post-operative atrial fibrillation and door to balloon time and such metrics. But there is one metric that we routinely collect, but I personally feel that we don't focus on that as much, which is the metric of time. That's the most important metric. So as you could see, this is the STS data collection form that I just selected a couple of places where the time is measured. You have the OR entry time. I don't know if this mouse works here, but it's okay. So the OR entry date and time and the OR exit date and time. And then you have below which the skin incision start time and the skin incision stop time. And underneath it, you will see the cardiopulmonary bypass time. So this is a valuable piece of data that we collect. And I just want to think as to how can we use this data to become more efficient. So I wanted to find out what exactly is the meaning of efficient is so that I can communicate with you all. It's capable of producing desired result with little or no waste. For us, the waste is, or the thing that we need to preserve is time and resources. So I just wanted to look into a small metric across our organization, and I sought help from Sherri and Eddie, and with their help, we collected data on isolated bypass procedures between July of 2011 through June of 2023. And as you could see, we have over 35,000 patient database here, which is huge. And what we did is we just wanted to see what is the average time it takes for a program to do the bypass surgery. And we have 17 centers here. And we have arranged them in the chronologic order on the second column, as you see. It takes from 4.7 hours all the way up to 6.5 hours to do the bypass surgery in our family here of VCSQI. And on the third column, we did not arrange anything. They just are there as they are. And you could see that the time in the OR also translate to time on the bypass machine. So there is a variation of about 1.5 hours of total OR time and 44 minutes of variation in the time it takes on the heart-lung machine to do primary bypass surgery. So what are the reasons for this? Multifactorial, I would say. You know, it could be that they may have a complex patient population in a certain place. It could be a teaching facility, or it could be the system that allocates more resources to doing certain procedures in a hospital versus others. But the important thing is, does this matter, having this variation, you know? And I would say that the big question is, should we actually look into this at all? I mean, should this matter to us that, you know, one institution is doing bypass surgery in 4.7 hours and other in 6.5? And I would say that we should take this into consideration because time is such a valuable asset. And then we use the time metric in everyday life. For example, you start from your home to go to the work and you allocate yourself X amount of the time. You just don't leave the home and say that I'll get to my work safely whenever I can. That's not how it works. So the same thing should go for some of the things that we do with our patients. You know, they should have some element of time built into it. So the studies have shown, I think most of you know, that the long bypass time has been associated with increased morbidities and in some studies increased mortality. At our own UVA, you know, physician has looked into this regarding the transfusion requirements in the aortic hemiarch surgeries. And it was interesting to note that in risk-adjusted analysis, cardiopulmonary bypass time, not the moderate hypothermic circulatory arrest, was independently associated with transfusion requirements. So I believe that with improved efficiency, we will not only serve our patients better, but can also support our institutions. In return, they will support our work. So how should we proceed from here if we want to adapt that process? The first step would be to carefully examine our own data set. As I have shown, we have over 35,000 patient data set. And we need to put together how long operative times and cardiopulmonary bypass times influence the resource utilization and patient outcomes. That's the first question we need to ask. To that effect, I have to say that I have collaborated with Dr. Tiemann and one of the fellows from UVA and one of my fellows together are actually analyzing this data as we speak. So that will be the first step. The second step, I believe, is to bring the data to this forum and present them and bring a discussion from the data so that people can ask questions, and the questions need to be addressed based on academic rigor and objective information. Not that I feel about this one. When you measure a time, it's not about feeling. It's a number. So it has to be based on that number. And once we come to some consensus that once we agree that, yes, we should incorporate this metric, efficiency metric, into one of our quarterly outcome metrics, then the next step goes into, just like we did with other outcome metrics, like who is doing best post-op AFib prophylaxis, who is using the least amount of the blood products after surgery, who has the shortest post-operative ventilation time in the programs. So we will identify those programs who are consistently efficient, and then we will have them come up and stand where I am and share with us as to how are they doing. And to do that, it's essential that this has to start with your operating room team, because skin incision start time. So what I propose is we should seek input from all the OR team members, including anesthesiologists, the nursing staff, the perfusion staff, of course, the surgeons are involved. And it should also incorporate people who help behind the scenes, like who stock the operating rooms, who clean in between the cases. Everybody's input is important. Once you build a consensus, then develop a chart and display in the operating room for everyone to see. And I just put out this chart to see what it's going to look like. So for a simple bypass procedure, you could say that the patient in the OR at 7:30. And the third column, always there is a room for improvement there. So improvement task line. And I have given the times just based on what I felt that those programs who are doing bypass surgery in 4.7 hours, they must have allocated their time like this. So once we have this displayed, just like we have a big poster in the operating rooms that says that timeout, like, you start with patient's name, ID, so on and so forth. After that, I believe we should talk about this. Let's set up times. Where should we go from there? And let the case go through the way the case is supposed to go through. And during the debriefing process, go back and look to see which ones we can do better. And I believe if we adopt this time and again, we will get better. I sincerely believe that there are more efficient programs among us, and we can serve our patients better by understanding and adopting the policies that can bring efficiency to all our programs. And I thank you for your attention.
You have any questions for Dr. Cotter?
Cost data with that?
Judy's asking, can we do cost data with, along with the efficiency or OR time?
Certainly, we already have a cost data allocated to each procedure, each center. And you could incorporate the cost data for that particular center. And it will give an average of what's happening at that center, perhaps not for a particular surgeon or group of surgeons. But if we give the cost data to the institution, then they can slice and dice and then find out how is it affecting if you're taking, 1.5 hours more to do a procedure. And I just think that this is very important at multiple levels because people want to be more efficient. The resources are limited. The manpower in and around the operating room, we all see how limited it is. So if we could utilize them more efficiently, then I think we will serve our patients better, the institutions better, and all of us better.
Go ahead, Meg.
Good evening. So one of our facilities is actually using the same efficiency metrics to look at the OR procedures as well, such as orthopedics and neurology. Is it possible for us to break this down with our cath PCI and LAAO procedures as well with the data that we have?
So the question is, can the table that I have shown for the bypass procedure be applied to any other procedures, including the cath PCI? The answer is certainly yes. I just happen to be more familiar with my work. That's what the table that I created, but it can be created for everything.
Yeah, as long as we have the data as part of the registry. I mean, the STEMI database is a great one in terms of showing times, device times or arrival at cath lab, things like that. So as long as it's recorded in the registry, we can break it out just like this.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Do we have anyone online who has any questions for Dr. Cotter? No questions. Thank you, Dr. Cotter. All right, so we're down to the finale. And I just want to thank you all for coming again. And this is part 2 of our last quarterly meeting. We had so much great information on improvement or implementation strategies that the meeting went longer than we expected. So Dana Millner from VCU, I am so happy that you're able to join us today and present your overdue presentation from last fall in regards to prolonged vent. The arrow keys.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, and I will say, there's no one more efficient at VCU than Dr. Cotter. When we're in the ICU and we know he's operating, it's going to be before lunchtime. So we know to prepare. So thank you, Dr. Cotter. That was wonderful. Well, thank you all for having me here. This is a great opportunity. I'm Dana Millner. I'm the nurse clinician at VCU. I started in the unit over 12 years ago as a new graduate nurse in various roles, and most recently in the nurse educator role. So this project has really been a collaborative effort for about 5 years now. I don't know if anyone knows Linda Curry. She really played a big part in this project along with Maggie Crawley, our data analyst. All right, so many of you know our Society of Thoracic Surgeon measure to decrease prolonged intubations. So we are held accountable for our cabbages and valves that our patients will not be intubated for greater than 24 hours cumulative during your inpatient stay. So we start that clock when the patient leaves the OR, and the end time is when the patient is discharged. So any reintubations during their inpatient stay will add to that cumulative total. So in about 2019 is when we really started putting a re-emphasis on getting this time down for our patients. Because as we know, shorter intubation times are linked to higher quality of care, better long-term outcomes, and prolonged intubation leading to post-op complications, increased length of stay, and readmission rates. So when we first started trying to tackle this, many discussions at our collaborative practice meetings, our QAPI meetings, we all agreed, but we just weren't quite getting there. We tried to implement a fast track program and sign that didn't really do much. So minimal change in outcomes at that point with our initial interventions. So at that point, when we initiated this project, we first went into the patient data. So we went back 2 years to our prolonged intubations, looking for what contributing factors we could find. Most common themes: post-op bleeding with reoperation, pulmonary complications, worsening cardiogenic shock, balloon pump therapy, volume overload, neurological changes, patients coming out with open chest, and then our rescue devices. So then the project really was collaborative. Our medical director of the ICU, our APPs on the unit, respiratory therapy, our nursing leaders, our cardiac surgeons could not have done this work, certainly without Dr. Cotter's contribution, and our data analyst were all a big part of this. So one of the things we first refocused on was our respiratory therapy practices and that collaboration piece, recognizing that we had some inconsistent practices. So really focusing on the involving respiratory therapy in our regular rounds, in our sterile cockpit. That's, our handoff from the anesthesiologist at when the patient arrives from the operating room, and really understanding what this fast track process that we came up with is. So this is the sign, the famous fast track sign that we use at VCU. The initial sign that we used in 2019 was more basic. We would put that patient arrival time from the OR with our 4-hour goal, and then a 6-hour goal if we can't get to that 4-hour one. It evolved to, you see there, we have that 24-hour. This is like our red. This is our STS measure target. We have to get in before that 24 hours. So then in November 2020, this was the work of a student that was at VCU, identified that we need a little more focus on that time when we realize we may not hit that 24-hour target. So we added this optimization huddle piece, again, a collaborative approach with RN, RT, and the provider. Let's look at what we can optimize to get this patient extubated by 24 hours. Does the patient have a cuff leak? Is there any known difficult airway? At this point, we've done hopefully an SAT, SBT, any hypoxemia or hypercarbia issues. What can we wean on the vent? What are the pressors and inotropes currently running? Anything that is preventing extubation from a circulation standpoint. Let's look at the patient's sedation. Let's look at their electrolytes and look at our volume status. So this piece, step 5, I think this has probably been the most impactful to this project, is the real-time data tracking. This is a Excel spreadsheet on Teams that, Linda started back in 2019, and I continue in 2024 with all of our cabbage and valve patients. So we are, in real time seeing when that patient comes out of the OR. And tracking that time. And it's been really helpful. I mean, I'm updating this on a, if hopefully daily basis. We've been able to catch some patients that, the provider or nurse may not have realized how close we were to that 24 hours. And then help us to recognize some common themes of maybe why we're not getting there. So this has been, I think, very impactful to our project. Of course, team education was a huge part of it. Providers, of course, were involved in the initial discussion, very much on board, and then involved that accountability and data tracking on that data tracking spreadsheet. We actually, it shows who was the surgeon, who was the intensivist on that week. And then one thing I do, we have our new residents each month, and I meet with those residents for a brief overview of this initiative and many other initiatives and many other very specific things to the cardiac surgery ICU at VCU. So that's a good chance to, share this work that we've done. With nursing, initially, we had a lot of educational initiatives. Now it's just included. It's so ingrained in our culture now. But I do share this with all of our new nurses and their orientation content. And then we share the data with nursing as well. And then our unit secretaries and care partners are even involved in this. I'll share that on the next slide, how they help us to achieve this. And then, of course, respiratory therapy, they also get this in onboarding. We actually share a presentation with all RT because we have so many unique respiratory needs in our cardiac surgery patients. So we have sort of a specialized training for our respiratory therapists that come to the unit. All right, so let's look at these roles. So where our unit secretary and care partner come into play, they help us with these signs. Very simply looking at the time that the patient rolls out of the OR. They can find that in the medical record, write that on the sign, hang it on the door for us. So it's there in plain sight. So then our sterile cockpit, our handoff, we always have the nurse and the respiratory therapist there to talk about the plan and our goal, extubation. Of course, then we're stabilizing the patient and again, collaborative in weaning the vent, addressing any complications, and then coming together for that optimization huddle if we're not meeting that 4-hour time frame. And then, of course, the documentation of extubation being very important to that data collection. Now, the documentation and coding is a big piece of it. I will say this is not my area of expertise, but of course, the is the observed of what we see with the patient what we expected. So a very sick patient coming in, if we expect them to be intubated longer than 24 hours, really just having that documentation there to support that. And then the feedback, the positive feedback to our staff. We do discuss this in our collaborative practice meetings, which we have bi-weekly, in our monthly QAPI meetings. We review cases if there's anything concerning there. And then I think the positive reinforcement has been really nice for staff. They've really enjoyed this. We send out emails when we meet the 4-hour time. And what I've started doing with these emails, like, great job, you've contributed toward this measure, really helping them to understand that this is something we're held accountable to. But I've started including respiratory therapy on these, and they have really appreciated that we recognize their collaboration with this. So it's become a little competitive. I've started almost doing like a leaderboard each month of who can safely get their patient extubated the fastest. So I really think we've gotten some buy-in, especially from a lot of our newer nurses on the unit. So this was our progress from 2020 to 2021. So this is a bit outdated, but this shows you where we really started initiating this project and how dramatic of an improvement we had. Now you can see over the last 5 years, 2019 is when we realized, okay, we need to focus on this. We had great improvement 2020, 2021, and 2022. And I think the big thing now is how do we sustain that? We saw an uptick in 2023, but I think on a positive note, we really have ingrained this into our culture. Again, that real-time data collection being very helpful, ongoing education with staff, that collaboration. And then in 2023, we're talking about this in our meetings, a lot of discussion amongst with Dr. Cotter in our collaborative practice meetings about what do we need to do? What's going on? Any project you implement, you have to stay on it. What do we need to do to keep continuing this success? So we certainly faced some barriers in 2023. I will say in the 12 years I've worked in our ICU, it's probably been some of the most sustained acuity and staffing challenges we've ever seen. So that certainly plays a role. And I know everyone's feeling that across the state. And then other competing priorities, we're working on many other things. So, you don't want to lose focus on something when you shift to something else being important. You still want to keep it there. So really maintaining that communication, the buy-in from staff, and that documentation again. So something we continue to work on, but we are proud of it. We've shared many of these initiatives across the hospital because I do think we have a unique process in our cardiac surgery ICU, and it's worked really well for us. So that is all I have. What questions do you have for me?
keeps that daily log, like the patients coming out, that big spreadsheet? Okay, cause
Me.
and then do the hooks fill out all the times for you? The unit secretaries fill out all the times, the 4 hour, 6 hour?
Yes.
the 24,
Yes,
so
because
they
they can
do
go
that.
ahead and do that math once they know the patients. And now if it's in the evening, you know, if we have a float secretary or the nurse can do it, or it may get missed until the morning. But that's we always have a secretary there during the day, so that she is on it during the week.
And then I couldn't see your slide, but was your data risk adjusted for 2023 and the years back? Or was that just raw
I was gonna
percent?
say that was from you guys, that slide.
That was OE, yeah.
Oh, it was okay. Okay, good. I
This
just
one,
wondered. I
yeah,
couldn't see the
yeah,
slide well
yeah,
enough.
ODE, yes.
This is fabulous work. I'm going to talk to you after the meeting about
I,
it.
li- I do, I really do enjoy the data piece of it. You know, my role is at VCU, it's nurse clinician, which is kind of the education piece, but also keeping up with many of the quality initiatives. So it's been unique, but I do really enjoy this part of it.
No, I think that you have to be congratulated. This is absolutely outstanding job. And the most important is that you put all the stakeholders together. This is a job of not one person, as you said. I mean, the cardiac surgeons by themselves, by definition, they'll not be able to do it. I mean, I know that. One nurse by, herself or himself again will not be able to do it, but at least in the beginning, your first slide saw like 10 people there that you try, again and again to put together. And I think that was a key to make this happen. So great job. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I certainly cannot take credit for the entirety of this work, but it's been a pleasure to continue on this project.
Dana, that was a phenomenal presentation. I only have you seen at work do a lot of grunt work, but you are an eloquent speaker. I'll tell you that. Yes. So the 2023, I just wanted to make a point there. It goes on to show that, it's a complete teamwork. We had a big group of, a lot of traveling and, so on and so forth. And the pieces were falling apart. So that made it very difficult for Dana to go back and put the pieces together. But now we're back on track. I know that. And that just shows that it's a village. Even if one team member, what is it saying? Like you're as fast as the slowest person on your team or something like that.
Strong as the weakest link.
Exactly. So that's what come down to. So all of us try to improve on this performance metrics and such, but we have to keep it in mind that everybody has to buy into that, and whatever it takes, Dana, that's a great initiative. Just sending a little thank you note next day morning, to appreciate for what they did goes a long way. Thank you, Dana, for your leadership.
Of course. Thank you all.
Do you guys want to say anything from a respiratory therapist? Yeah. Yeah.
Danny, I got a quick question. That's okay. My name's Jill. We're at Henrico Doctors. We actually started an initiative in doing a lot of the similar things that we found that sounds very familiar, which is fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to kind of ask you is we seem to have made great improvement in our rapid extubations, but it's not necessarily that our prolonged vent, some of those patients, those numbers, we still struggle where we're saying, we've got prolonged vents and that's frustrating, but we've seen a huge improvement in our patients that are extubated under our goal was 6 hours. And right now, we're averaging around 4.5 hours. And I am the you where I'm sending out text messages and snapshots and I'm on the floors and doing that. So, I think we have made really good strides, and it's been a great part of learning from everybody here and listening to being collaborative with, everybody, not in just our world, but to reaching out to different hospitals. And so that's my biggest question is, yes, we've made great strides in reducing our vent times, but prolonged vent patients are still there. And we're not missing them by, 28 hours or 36 hours. It's, those are the patients that are really sick. If anybody has that magic recipe, that would be fantastic to share that. But that's where I think we hit our primarily frustration on some of the patients. So.
That's a great point. And, those prolonged intubations are the sickest patients, right? In the past, when we would always keep balloon pump patients intubated like that certainly is not the case anymore, right? Like we can even ambulate these patients now if we'd like. So I think really trying to get our minds around like who can we extubate? Like even could we consider extubating a open chest patient and they would be on bed rest, but could we consider those things? But I think there's always work to be done around, some very sick patients that we see some of our patients that end up, getting trached and things like that. But I don't know, Dr. Cotter, do you have any input on that?
Thank you. So some of the patients obviously will not pass the 24 hours mark. And the most common reasons that we found out in our practice when we looked into that was either we underestimated their lung condition. That was the one thing. And the more common one, which I have worked very closely with my colleagues, is postoperative bleeding. So once you have a chest tube drainage of X amount per hour, so on and so forth, the huddle stops. So that was the most common reason that we found in our program. So one of the things that we have done that I'll share with all of you guys is the credit should go to my predecessor, who has Dr. Medallion, who says that no patient leaves from the operating room after open heart surgery with 45 minutes of chest tube drainage of over 50 cc in the OR. That means you have finished the procedure, you have hooked up the chest tubes to the collection system, and then you wait. So that was his initiative. So we're not strictly following that, but what we do is, as soon as you could close the fascia where the chest tube can start working, you connect them, and then you start the clock. So if they need any products to correct the coagulopathy that they may have, if the chest tube drainage is over 50 cc, you do it in the OR before they come. So that has helped us a lot. And we did that. And Dr. Medallion was the person who was here before that, who initiated that the credit should go to him.
Real-time data collection, that's what we found, is that many
Yep.
of the patients that we're reviewing in our collaborative meetings, pre-operation,
Yep.
bleeding. So Dr. Fowler's on his colleagues.
Again, the same good old saying, all complication starts in the operating room.
Thank you again, Dana. And it looks like we already have a front runner for our collaborator of the year 2024 here. So. Are there other questions, comments, thoughts, anything the group would like to share this evening? We'll just kind of have a open forum if anyone would like to take the mic.
Yeah. How many groups are using ERAS for cardiac surgery? Everyone? Everyone. So are we, just curious.
Like every metric, like there's
Yeah.
20, odd
You're pretty much
metrics.
calling it. Any issues? Just for your cabbage valves?
Any open heart, so any open heart surgery, we do ERAS.
Yeah.
The carb loading, I'm not sure that was something we did that one.
Were you having complications or having trouble with sugars or what? Ah.
It's there, and it's not there, and it's there. But it's not there, and
So your NPO, you're like, what's in it?
Hi, I'm a little nervous to talk, but my name's Jessica. I'm a respiratory therapist at Henrico, and you had mentioned sometimes you underestimate their lung capabilities. How many patients do you have that would you do like preoperative PFTs, or is that a norm thing for you guys? Or we used to do them a lot and we've kind of backed off since COVID, but just wondered.
Have increased so we have increased the amount of preoperative incentive spirometry, and then I think we do like a shortened version of that one, not the full diffusion capacities, but just FEV1 kind of thing at the bedside. So I would say that over 80% of the patients now coming into the OR have a documented, at least basic lung capacity.
And especially, these metrics that we have to activate somebody 4 hours, 6 hours. And all these, of course, are so much scrutinized, but also it's true that it's better patient care. So you cannot really take in somebody for.
Support the documentation.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. So you cannot really, I mean, one is that you do provide better patient care. I mean, you know what's going on with the patient, especially most of these people, they're prior smokers or current smokers. So they're going to have some degree of COPD. This can be mild or moderate. And you have also to put this, on a calculator. So it's a lot of things that I think the PFTs, again, you don't need the whole, thing, but you do need to have a baseline and know what's going on. So your job is actually great and you're secure,
Does anyone online have any questions? I can turn on the speaker and you can unmute. It does not look like.
Looks like Beth has her hand up.
Oh, I can see it. So 1 second, Beth. Okay, you're, go ahead and speak. We can hear you.
She doesn't have any.
Okay.
Very good. Well, if there's nothing else for tonight, we again just want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Thanks to all of our nominees and of course award winners this evening. You guys are what makes VCSQI special. We wouldn't be here without you, and just are so excited to continue this journey with you all. So thanks so much for all your contributions and looking forward.